3. Don't tap the glove.
I feel like I just made my video on CHROMAKOPIA, and here we are just a few months later talking about another Tyler album. I woke up on the morning of July 19th to out of the blue random news that Tyler was dropping again, and without a moment of hesitation, I immediately brought the vinyl that was up for sale. A marker of good faith that Tyler has built up with his fan base is that he's now able to sell out vinyls and CDs without his fans having even heard a single moment of any music from this project. Don't Tap the Glass was announced as the title of the new album due to drop in a matter of days, and naturally fans speculated very hard. There was even this fake track list circulating that said the likes of Kendrick, Pusha T and Earl Sweatshirt were to appear on the album, which Tyler was very quick to debunk as false. Right out of the gate, Tyler sought to control expectations and frame its release the way he wanted to. He said, "You better get them expectations and hopes down. This ain't no concept, nothing." That's a comment I initially took with a grain of salt, considering Tyler had told us CHROMAKOPIA, the album that he's still actually touring for, had no features, which was a flat out lie. This time, however, his statement was true. Kind of. It's true that the album doesn't have the narrative or thematic concept of his preceding albums, but that shouldn't be confused with lacking clear intent in its promotion and attached material. Like all Tyler albums, regardless of concept or lack thereof, we are presented with a consistent visual identity and a character for Tyler to express himself through. The image of himself topless with the red hat, giant gold chain, oversized arms, and Cazal sunglasses all appear to pay homage to hip-hop eras between the 80s and 2000s. As someone who grew up in the 2000s myself, the very first image that popped into my head was the Ludacris music video for Get Back. The combo of chains, red pants, and him being topless appears to also be a reference to one of the pioneers of commercial hip-hop, LL Cool J. Combining this with the fact that CHROMAKOPIA is Tyler's most vulnerable and revealing project to date, I knew not to expect something that carried the same sort of emotional weight. But that's not to say it lacks emotion or emotional intent. It's far from that. It just attempts to communicate and speak through a different emotion. This being what Tyler sees as joy and freedom, being uninhibited. Tyler posted this just before the album dropped. "I asked some friends why they don't dance in public, and some said because of the fear of being filmed. I thought, damn, a natural form of expression and a certain connection they have with music is now a ghost." Knowing Tyler's connection to hip hop and music in general, I believe this is sincere, especially considering how much he's always worn his heart and influence on his sleeves. If you've seen my video for CHROMAKOPIA, then you'll notice a stark difference in the runtime of that video and this video. And that's because the appeal and intent of this project is to be felt and moved to get up and dance to, not to be dissected by superfans writing in a dark corner of their room. There are, however, some really interesting things going on in the execution of the project that are still worth sharing and discussing. The album opens with Big Poe, where we get the 3 rules for listening to the album that Tyler had teased.
Number 1. Body movement. No sitting still.
That is, of course, self-explanatory, and everything Tyler has been doing surrounding this album's promotion speaks to this. The $10 listening parties where he explicitly says, "If you're not dancing, go home," is the prime example.
Number 2. Only speak in glory. Leave your baggage at home.
This rule is Tyler's preemptive advice to both himself and us, that baggage for him is most likely his most recent album that he's still touring. The baggage that he leaves at the door before this album is the paranoia and anxiety about aging. Leaving baggage at the door for his audience is a more general comment on the function of dance music, as a means to lose yourself momentarily and not think about the struggles of everyday life.
Number 3. Don't tap the glove.
Initial comments on what the album title meant were speculating that it was a reference to smartphone usage, and tapping the glass meant scrolling on your phone as you consume this music, which again Tyler was quick to debunk. Although this album is a world apart from CHROMAKOPIA, I still think the album title is an extension of some of those explored themes, especially on a song like Noid. Don't Tap the Glass is a polite warning to respect boundaries, observe from a distance, and don't let yourself get too familiar with someone you fundamentally do not know. It's a warning against unhealthy parasocial relationships. I think laced into the idea of not tapping the glass, for Tyler at least, as someone who so clearly loves hip hop, is the idea of cultural appropriation and overstepping boundaries, reminding those that there is a difference between those who observe a culture and those who are participants of a culture. Not tapping the glass is respecting that reality, and also respecting the history of hip hop as an art form. He's dressed himself in an amalgamation of iconic hip hop pieces as if they are artifacts to be viewed and remembered. Big Poe itself is loud, brash, and synth heavy, something that sounds like it came from an early 2000s NERD album. It's fitting therefore that Pharrell himself makes an appearance as Skateboard P. Even that itself is an acknowledgement of a piece of hip hop history. Big Poe is also Tyler being like super freaky for some reasons, with bars like, "I'm a sick pup girl, I'm nasty, eat the cream pie in the back of the backseat," which is fundamentally the same idea communicated in Judge Judy, just with a different energy to frame it. "I don't trust white people with dreadlocks" is actually fucking hilarious too. We even get this loud, prominent Busta Rhymes sample from Pastor Cavossier in yet another nod to an era of hip-hop history that clearly means so much to Tyler. Things slow down a bit with track 2 on Sugar on My Tongue, a hip house freaky dance anthem. As Tyler said, it's none of that deep shit. It's a horny, sweaty dance song to get up and move to. To me, this feels very Andre 3000 and Love Below inspired. Put this song next to songs like She Lives in My Lap or Spread or Happy Valentine's Day and it wouldn't feel out of place. I will admit that I wasn't too sure of what to think of Sugar on My Tongue after the first couple of listens, and then I went on a bike ride to it and my mind changed immediately. The drums force you to get up and move, the swirling synths feel euphoric. It's not deep, as Tyler says, but I'd argue something that conjures dancing in of itself is as important as any other emotion. Sucker Free is a super slick, laid back West Coast ride around song. It actually reminds me of an album that Pharrell produced a decade ago that seems to have been forgotten by time, his link up with Snoop Dogg, Bush. If you like Sucker Free, please listen to that album because like nobody talks about it anymore. Tyler continues the ethos of his Hey Now remix That Guy, literally referring to himself as that guy, as quintessentially 90s LA talk boxes / vocoders go off behind him. His flow on the first verse, I feel, has to be another reference to another West Coast rapper. This first flow here,
shitty back up, got my racks up, baby blue, beam up, watch it back up,
sounds like it was lifted straight from the game's How We Do from 2004.
Fresh like Impala, chrome hydraulics, 808 drums.
Tyler exaggerates and leans into his LA accent as he flexes his material achievements and how much he's stacking papers. But even with a concept so simple, his vocal delivery, flow variety and energy is what makes it engaging and not just another mindless flexing song. Mama Nem is the shortest on Don't Tap the Glass and one of the more puzzling moments on the album. It continues Tyler's streak of flexing on his peers and saying what he means with chest, but in the context of something darker, more intimidating and more aggressive. That high-pitched plucking sound is intentionally unnerving as Tyler breathes and growls before getting into that nursery rhyme sort of threat on the pre-chorus. It feels like it's building and growing into something super explosive before it perfectly feeds into Stop Playing With Me. I will be honest and say I think Stop Playing With Me may be my least favourite song on the album, for the simple fact that as opposed to other tracks, I don't think Tyler delivers or frames his flexes in a particularly interesting or fresh way. Not to say it's a bad song, but I've heard Tyler do the over-the-top explosive flex track a lot better many times. Lumberjack, What's Good, even Ratata are examples of this. I mess with the song more in concept than execution. I like the idea of a stripped back, super minimal, dark flex track, in the vein of Okra too, but this time it just doesn't quite work for me. Thankfully, however, we immediately get back on track with one of the album highlights, Ring Ring Ring, which continues Tyler's tradition of songs revolving around phone calls. I love the contrast between the deep voice intro and the high-pitched Igor style vocals we get once the verses start. The phones chirping in the background beside the synths and Tyler's breathing adds so much subtle color to the song. We've heard longing, mournful and heartbroken Tyler before, of course, but what is fresh is this reimagined 90s version of that. It doesn't feel like pastiche or parody, but just very sincere. That third verse, where he speaks directly to the operator, sounds like it was lifted straight out of a 1980s golden age hip-hop track. Ring 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 is the closest we get to that so-called baggage being brought into the dance floor. I don't think it's a coincidence, at least for me anyway, that the most vulnerable moment on the album happens to be my favorite. I'm as big a fan of flexing, bragging Tyler as anyone else, but over the last decade, his knack for marrying sincerity, emotional vulnerability, and catchy, sticky songs has become one of his biggest strengths. The next track, the title track, whips us back into something more in your face. Don't Tap the Glass sounds like it was made for a breakdancing competition somewhere in LA in 1992.
Don't tap that glass, don't tap that glass, don't tap that glass, nigga, don't tap that glass.
He repeats the titular phrase so much that it cannot be misconstrued. Don't tap the glass. Don't get too close, don't get too familiar, and keep that respectable distance. But in this instance, he provides another reason. He says there's a monster in it. Getting too close will allow this monster to hurt you, which to me feels like a nod to some of the more negative aspects of his persona he explored on CHROMAKOPIA. Tyler continues his confrontational flexing, particularly towards the end of the first verse. Some fans have speculated that the end of this verse is a nod to the Kendrick and Drake beef that took place last year, with Tyler of course being a huge fan of Pusha T, Kendrick and Pharrell. Looking like a victim might be the insanity of Drake running to the court and taking legal action against his own record label. Tyler drops some hilarious bars about prostate exams and flexes the fact that he came from a loving home. And he ends the verse with another reference that people speculate might be a shot at Drake. You ain't gotta lie, we can smell the Ozempic was an angle of attack for a few rappers at Drake last year. Part 2, Tweaking, has Tyler turning the flexes up to 100, stating that he should have played the SoFi Stadium and how much guap he's stacking. The next 2 songs is where we get a moment to catch our breath and he slows it down for us. Immediately on Don't You Worry Baby, Tyler gives us another nod to the 90s, sampling 12 Gauge's Let Me Ride.
Let me ride, pump and shake it, let me ride that kitty cat.
This is one of the more back to basics and straight to the point songs on the album, an expression of both love and physical desire over a quick, bright, summery instrumental. It's made to move to as like one of the last songs at a house party, a glass of wine in hand as the night slowly winds down. It features Madison McFerrin, the daughter of legendary vocalist Bobby McFerrin. Tyler continues to share unashamedly that he is a freak with lyrics like "I need a freak, I'm giving it a freak." I'll Take Care of You is one of the standouts on the first listen for me, particularly for its opening section and its collage of Tyler's tastes and styles. It has this dream lullaby-like melody as Yebba's voice comes together with Tyler for something very sincere and heartfelt. This is soon married with a sample of the 2004 Crime Mob track Knuck If You Buck. These two seemingly stylistic opposites are two of Tyler's biggest musical loves. He is on record as a massive lover of 90s and 2000s R&B and neo-soul, whilst of course fundamentally being a hip-hop nerd. They come together here amazingly, and then something super unexpected happens. Tyler samples himself with the striking loud drum break lifted from the title track to Cherry Bomb. In itself, that's a flex. To have the confidence to sample yourself from a decade ago, from an album that remains the most polarizing in his catalogue. It provides a fixed point to compare Tyler's progression from then to now, while subtly saying that he feels he deserves to stand alongside the pantheon of hip-hop artists he also reveres. The buried vocals on the verse, high-pitched intonation, and of course the drums do sound like the spirit and ethos of what he was trying to do on Cherry Bomb, only now with 10 years more practice and experience. Don't Tap the Glass closes with one of the few rare moments of introspection, Tell Me What It Is. A song driven by skepticism and paranoia due to previous heartbreak is sort of like the cyclical love story of Igor. He makes yet another callback to classic eras of music, this time directly referencing the Andre 3000 and Khalees track Millionaire, legitimately one of the best songs ever made. Tyler bares his soul and repeats and questions why he can't find love, which is one of the questions he had explored in depth on CHROMAKOPIA. Ending this sort of album, an album explicitly about leaving your baggage at the door, with this emotional reflection is interesting. It implies that even when you explicitly would like to leave your baggage at the door, sometimes it's impossible. It's a contradiction so blatantly obvious that it can't be anything but intentionally placed. We end with Tyler telling his audience that he hopes they enjoyed themselves and teases that maybe next time they could stay longer. A nod and acknowledgement that this is by far Tyler's shortest album to date. He states the glass was not tapped and thanks his audience before the album closes with the same sound effect it opened with. The album is for the most part, as Tyler stipulated, concerned with body movement, dancing, freedom, and being in the moment. But there are a couple of moments where the so-called real world pierces that boundary. Don't Tap the Glass is an attempt at encouraging people to be uninhibited, to feel free to express how musically, physically makes them feel. Simultaneously, it's a vessel for Tyler to express his love for eras of music that had an impact on his sensibilities, as well as pay homage to and embrace his city. As fans, we love to compare, and even when Tyler tells us not to, sometimes we can't help it. This isn't Igor or CHROMAKOPIA. The stakes aren't as high as those albums. The lavish production isn't the same either. Not every song on Don't Tap the Glass is as weighty or fleshed out as I'd personally like, and I think even for an album primarily focused with simply dancing and getting lost in the music, a couple of moments feel undercooked. Having said that, this is still a very good quality project from Tyler, and one that feels quintessentially him. It's a lightning in a bottle moment that doesn't overstay its welcome, and more often than not succeeds in getting us on our feet and moving.